Bonjour tout le monde. Quelle belle,
Hello to everyone. It's
full of energy for a fantastic couple of days of discussion about innovation in food security and nutrition. Il y a de la traduction,
there is simultaneous interpreting.
and you will need it. Parts of the discussion will be in French, parts of the discussion will be in English. Je m'appelle Dominique Charron, je suis la directrice.
My name is Dominique Charron. I am the director of the Agriculture and Environment Program at IDRC.
It's my pleasure to be here today, along with the President Jean Lebel of IDRC et le secrétaire parlementaire au ministère
And the Parliamentary section of the Ministry of the Department of Agriculture and Environment, Honorable Jean-Claude Poissant, who will be speaking to you very soon.
your attention to the Masters of Ceremony for the day, who will be taking you forward from here, Monsieur Renaud Deplan from IDRC and Frank Schneider from Global Affairs Canada, who I will introduce shortly. Without further ado, allow me to welcome Jean Lebel to the podium. Monsieur Jean Lebel, Président du Centre de recherche pour le développement.
The President of IDRC.
Everyone, bonjour tout le monde. I hope you had a very good evening. J'espère que vous avez passé une bonne soirée. For those that participated in the cocktail with the Honorable Marie-Claude Bibeau, Minister of International Development, yesterday night, I think it was quite a successful event. Now, we're here together for the next 2 days discussing the Canada International Food Security Research Fund, that is called in English CIFSRF, and as I mentioned yesterday, qui dorénavant en français sera aussi appelé.
And we'll call it CIFSRF in French as well.
D'une société de la couronne qui existe.
I'm president of a Crown organization whose mandate is to develop research capacity and actors in research in the global south. And through their funding, we help to come up with solutions to the most serious problems in the world, food security being one of them.
To support the researcher in the field in order to find solution to the problem that they are facing. In this case, food security has never been so relevant than today if we are looking at the issues that are global that we are facing, whether it's inclusiveness, whether it's equity, whether it's climate changes. At the end of the day, people don't drink oil, people eat. And in order to eat, you need to secure that you have not only enough food, you need to have good food, you have food that need to be accessible, you need food that people can afford to buy, and you need systems that make them available to all. Yesterday night, I mentioned to you the genesis of CIFSRF, and for those of you that were not with us, here are some numbers. My natural science background calls for that. 9 years ago, or almost 10, Ian McGillivray that I saw in the room that was working then at CIDA came to me and says, Jean, we need to work on food security. And I said, that's a great idea. How we're going to make this? Well, we made it through designing jointly a program with the intent of looking at food security for the places in the world where there's real challenge, but where there's real innovation. And to blend this with Canadian University and Research Center, take the best mind in the world in order to figure out what can work, not at the level of a village, but at the level of a region, at the level of a country, at the level of a continent, tackle the scaling challenge. $124 million later, 39 projects, 24 pays, 144...
24 pays and hundreds of innovations that were tested, 36 that were scaled up, 40 southern partners and 20 from Canada, 2 phases, that's very technical, 73 million people who were reached by the innovations that were tested and generated and scaled up.
Among them, 700,000 that are women that are contributing to eating better food, increasing revenue, increasing productivity, and reducing the drudgery. Over the next 2 days, you'll talk about the result and the lesson learned, and there's 18 posters behind in French and English that tells the story of some of these projects. They are about sustainable agriculture development. Ils sont aussi sur la question de la nutrition, de la santé.
Nutrition and health, access to markets, creating revenue for small farmers.
Innovation for impact, and of course, gender equality in agriculture and food security. And I say of course, not because of the Feminist International Assistance Program, the policy of Canadian government, but because for years the people in this room have known that in agriculture, it's not only a male world. If you want to make progress, you need to include everyone. And this audience have known this for years and have contributed to that. I was mentioning that IDRC and Global Affairs Canada collaborated on this. And it was quite innovative because we designed it jointly, we ran it jointly, and we are seizing the learning jointly from all of your work. And this work has shown that, if you want to tackle the Sustainable Development Goals that are 17, you cannot only concentrate on, reducing hunger. You need to tackle many other aspects. And the beauty of all your work is that you've done this, paying attention to the sustainability, paying attention to the equality and the inclusiveness, but paying attention also to the economic aspect. And yesterday I didn't drill in some of the results that you have accomplished, but for me it was there at the beginning of the program and designing it, to be here today and to see where you brought this, not us, you that participate, is phenomenal. Parlons seulement de l'augmentation.
Let's just talk about increased income. 83% of these projects generate income that was significantly above what was forecasted. That means a difference in 95%. That's incredible. In Bolivia,
a project on aquaculture. Revenue per year for the 1,000 families that participated in the project have passed from $8,000 to an average of $19,000 per year. That's more than double. With what? With research results that are translated into action for people for making a difference. Au Nigeria, c'est 3 fois les revenus.
3 times the income for all the farmers that took part in diversification in
potatoes that are produced in Nariño are 2 times higher in proteins and contain iron and zinc that are higher level than the original indigenous species. They are improvement in terms of seed, they are improvement in terms of variety, and they are reaching out now millions of people. So here you have a perfect illustration of what was accomplished in these projects. It's not only about increased productivity, C'est pas seulement avoir plus.
It's not just having more production. It also has to generate income for everyone, men and women. And finally, it means not only having more to eat, doing business and improving the living conditions of the family, but it also means, yes, improving the health of people. And in a number of these projects, there are health indicators that were measured and show without any doubt that these projects have contributed globally to improved living conditions and health conditions.
Often in international development, the question we're asked as leader and you as researcher is, does it make a real difference in terms, are people getting more in their pocket, or can they use the money for health services, for education? Here we can say yes. But the other dimension is that, is this contributing to inclusiveness and having women, accessing also the benefit of these innovations? And World Bank is saying, I like those numbers. $160 trillion will be, liberated if women were fully participating into the global economy, which include agriculture. I don't know what is $160 trillion. I have a hard time to manage my own budget, so imagine $160 trillion. 78% des
68% of CIFSRF's projects increased access to knowledge, to skills, and women's resources in these projects.
percent of projects have increased access to knowledge, to skills, and to resources. In all of the 1.7 million farmer trained, half of the women there received direct training from the research project, and the drudgery has been significantly reduced. In Ethiopia, the increase of crop of chickpeas in the program that reach out to 50,000 farmers, half of them were women, have been doubled. In Cambodia, where is the Cambodian team? It's a project that I visited a few years ago on, on fish pound and blend with agriculture. They have made gigantic progress in terms of incomes and business development. It was fascinating. I love fishing, but fishing fish pond in Cambodia is a complete different story. It was so impressive to see people mastering how to grow fish in fish tank in a sustainable way, while at the same time conducting their land agriculture and increasing their revenue. In Nepal, the handheld corn shellers, reduced by 36 hours of hard labor each season. And in India, another project I visited on the hauling of millet, the revenue has been increased significantly. So, yesterday, Manny says, Jean, you're so passionate, Et c'est vrai, je suis passionné.
It's true, I'm passionate. But I also know how the work done by all of you is very serious, based on an approach in which there are no answers when we start, and the answers that you come up with always have to be tested later to be improved.
Research is a journey. Research is a long journey, but it's not because it's a long journey that cannot produce tangible, impactful results. And the challenge I put to you in closing is that with all the storytelling and all the evidence and all this massive set of population that have been reached and are impacted by the innovation you contributed to develop. How do we go the next stage? There is still today 850 million people that go to bed tonight hungry. What do we need to do to scale this, beyond Colombia for the potato, beyond Cambodia for the fish tank, beyond Bolivia for the fish pond, beyond Ethiopia? Some of you have started to work on this, but I think this is the next big challenge that is ahead of you. And for that, I don't have an answer. I don't know how to do it. You are the one that might help us to continue this journey and make sure that it reaches everyone that needs it, men, women, and children. For what? For securing that our sustainable goals are accomplished, but also demonstrating that with a feminist international assistance policy, we make a difference in the world. And this is all due to you. Thank you very much for convening here today. Et maintenant, j'ai le très...
Now, I have the great pleasure of introducing the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Mr. Jean-Claude Poissant. He's been a member of the Parliament since 2015, and he's been there in this position since 2015.
The Parliamentary Secretary for Agriculture and Agri-Food is that he is a farmer himself. He's a fourth generation of farmer in Quebec, dairy farming, and he has been active in so many fronts with the Fédération des producteurs de lait du Québec, among others, and that he doesn't only, do his member of parliament job very well, his parliamentary secretary very well, but he's also a farmer that is still doing it very well, that has experience at the international level through exchange program with various federation and co-op movement, and has a breadth of experience to contribute. It's an honor, a real privilege to welcome to the podium. C'est un grand honneur et un grand privilège, Monsieur Poissant, de nous avoir parmi nous.
Present Mr. Poissant. Thank you for being available, because a farmer who talks to people who are working in agriculture, it makes for a better world. Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome you.
Morning, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
I'm sorry, my English is not good. Vous savez, comme
As Mr. Lebel said, I would like to thank you for this introduction. I would also like to thank Ms. Charron. It's a really great organization that we see here today. It's a lot of work, and we need people to do this. So it is in your honor, Ms. Charron, that it's also thank you to your team. As I said, as Mr. Lebel said, I grew up on my ancestors' farm, and increasingly I was able to have my children continue, my son and my grandchildren. For a farmer, the farm is really the umbilical cord, and that keeps us together and encourages us to go beyond. It's not completely unknown to me. I participated in international development on my farm at the time. It had a different name, and there was somebody from Mali and somebody from Senegal who came to live and work with my family on the farm. They ate our table, and they slept at our home, and we had a great communication. Our children were always there listening to their stories from their countries, so it was really quite an experience. So Further delay, I would like to give you the message of Madame Bibot and Kamal Kera. These are individuals who work tremendously for international development, and I'm very proud to be working with these individuals. I'm very pleased to be here today on behalf of my colleague Kamal Kera, the Parliamentary Secretary of the Department for International Development. In the past 9 years, the Canadian CIFSRF played an important role in the progress of Canadian innovation for development and in the promotion of gender equality. The fund created a very rich heritage that will last thanks to the policy of feminist international aid and to the partners that have been established between researchers from here and developing countries. New alliances with the private sector are going to help us identify innovative solutions that were developed in the fund projects, solutions that will help us eliminate extreme hunger and reach our sustainable development goals. We can't resolve problems related to sustainable development goals overnight. But the innovative work of the fund was already tested some solutions that can now be scaled up. Today you will see how we have tested, validated, and adapted 37 technological innovations and promising processes. I believe that more than 78 million of small farms, businesswomen, and consumers already benefited from it. It's quite a feat. The fund helped projects in 24 countries with 20 Canadian institutions and 40 national partners. Some solutions go beyond the fund thanks to new partnerships with the private sector. Of course, this was the intention and the hope of those who created the fund. And this was all successful. For instance, the case of method preservation of berries, we managed to reduce losses for farmers and extend the markets for their products. 9 innovative mechanisms were developed to slowly release hexanol, which is a natural agent of fruit preservation before or while they are being stocked and shipped. The cost of integrating this in the value chain is affordable and it brings money to everybody. This conservation agent has very promising potential in developing countries. This product was already used by more than 4,000 services, agricultural consultants, and 32% of the users are women farmers, and 35% are women that have been trained and have become small businesses. The fund's projects have also created or led to many stories like these and impressive successes, as have been demonstrated in the case of women. As a lot of you know, 79% of women in underdeveloped countries get their main income from our agriculture, and half of the world food is produced by women, and that's it's not neglected. You know, my mother was a partner, my dad's partner on the farm, and at the time in the 70s, it was quite a difficult time. At one point, my father told me I have to go and work elsewhere, and I would like you to stop school, leave school so that you can continue working on the farm that I have been working on with my mother. So that is when I realized how important women were in agriculture. My father left in the morning very early to work, and I was helping my mother and take care of our livestock. So I understand the importance of women in agriculture. Nevertheless, they often do not have access to resources and production means compared to men farmers. In several regions, they don't even have the right to own land. I know that for the fund, the gender equality is a very important theme, and it ensures that women can benefit equally from this fund, be they researchers, trainers, farmers, owners, or
on women, and you have seen their potential as agents of change in agricultural sector. Ce qui en est ressorti.
What has stemmed from it is improvement of food, economic development, greater influence on policies, and a greater participation in important discussions on food safety aimed at orienting tomorrow's agriculture in Benin. And in Nigeria, for instance, the cultivated lands for indigenous legumes was grown eightfold. The demand for these has also increased thanks to promotional campaigns that did the marketing. Nowadays, some of these are sent towards or shipped to European markets. Researchers have worked to improve access to better grains and indigenous varieties. They have worked with farmers, universities, and the private sector to produce quality grains. They have also helped put in place a system of microfinancing in Nigeria, which helped 6,800 producers of pulses, which 61% were women, to receive small loans at low interest rates. In Tanzania, there were radio programs, cartoons, and demonstration just to help advertise or raise awareness on specific legumes and pulses. In time, this led to changes in national policies on seeds, and this made more varieties available to farmers, and this reinforced the role of leadership of women in the national system of agricultural research. In 9 years, the fund has also created new partnerships between the public, private, and not-for-profit sector, as well as local business sectors. A very eloquent example is the partnership between CRDI, Global Affairs, and the Foundation Bill and Melinda Gates for the creation of an innovation fund of $57 million for livestock vaccination. This project improved livestock health and also the economic means for livestock for livelihood. And research on new vaccines and new vaccination methods for livestock has also helped with some neglected diseases. The existing vaccines have become more accessible, more safe, and affordable for small farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, where women represent 2/3 of producers. On top of being a source of income and food for more than 1 billion farmers, livestock is a guarantee for loans and reserves, emergency reserves. In fact, ensuring livestock health thanks to affordable vaccines protects families from poverty and contributes in eliminating hunger. As the Canadian government is putting in place policies for international feminist aid, it also is trying to conclude agreements with the private sector and non-for-profit organizations, and everything thanks to the funds. The funds also reached its objective of making Canada a leader in innovation and efficiency in the field of development. This also led Canadian University to rebuild their agriculture programs, international agriculture programs, and establish partnerships with their counterparts in developing countries. This raised the credibility and visibility of Canada as a stakeholder in international agricultural research and development. There was collaboration in very different fields, such as nutrition, vaccination, livestock vaccination, and food processing practices. And on behalf of the Government of Canada, I would like to thank all of the research organizations and their partners who participated in this fund's projects, and I congratulate you on the results that you have had in terms of international development. You have worked so hard to contribute to improving the world, giving hope to farmers in developing countries, a better income to women in need, and making fragile economies more dynamic.
At more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous world. Merci.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Poissant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Poissant and Mr. Lebel. Mr. Poissant, it's an honor to have you with us, to have a representative from the government with us to share what, like you said, is quite a feat. The work that has been done in 9 years, what we are doing now, and what we will do in the future, everyone here in this room. I know that you are very busy, so thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning. And the program now, I have a few remarks about the history and the story of how the Canadian International Food Security Research Fund came into being, and why and how we have all got here today, and to set the stage for the discussion over the next couple of days. En tant que membre du comité,
as a member of the management committee of the fund, I am pleased to share with you the work and see the development of the work. To see you all together here in Ottawa, Canada's capital, to share these results is an honor for me.
The stage. As Jean Lebel, our president of IDRC, mentioned, the story of CIFSRF goes back to the mid-late 2000s. In 2007, there was a price hike in food. There was a crisis that followed with people not having access to affordable food. And this generated much civil unrest, the ripple effect of which we are still dealing with today. On top of that, decades of declining investment in agricultural development, and in particular in agricultural research that was focused on meeting the needs of the poor, contributed to a lack of ideas, solutions to try and meet the needs of the growing number of hungry. At the time, more than 1 billion people were chronically undernourished, and this had been up 8% from only 2 years earlier. The Government of Canada realized that to feed the projected human population increase and to meet the needs of the hungry at that time, there was going to need to be a transformation in agriculture, and that innovation was and would continue to be needed. En réponse, le gouvernement
In response, the Canadian government, while reforming its approach to international aid in 2009, identified food security as one of the main priorities for Canada, and also found several partners ready to work with the government. This is how this fund, the Canadian National Food Security Fund, was created. So the expertise on the research side of the Center for Research and the development side that was at the time CIDA, Canadian International Development Agency, that is now part of Global Affairs Canada.
National Food Security Research Fund aimed to leverage this Canadian and international expertise together to fill this innovation gap and to develop and to scale up long-term sustainable solutions to improve food security, nutritional security, contribute to women's empowerment, and environmental sustainability. So it was launched in 2009 with an initial commitment of $62 million, and a second phase, announced in 2013, brought the total investment to $124 million, and at the time was the largest agricultural research fund focused on international development in the world. The fund sought to generate innovation along 3 dimensions of food security. To make sure that there was enough food, the CIFSRF acronym, the Canadian International Food Security Research Fund focused on sustainably increasing agricultural production to ensure that more food was available more consistently. And 56% of your projects focus on this. Access to food is another pillar of food security, and your research focused on increasing farm incomes and improving access to markets, as we heard from the remarks this morning. 86% of the projects, 86% of you in this room, have contributed to improving farm income for low-income farmers, and half of them are women. Food needs to be nutritious and safe. And your research has focused on improving nutrition. Over 50% of the projects are contributing to improve nutritional quality of food. Quels étaient nos objectifs?
What were our goals in 2009? 4 goals, 3 in 2009 and 1 that was added in 2013. Increase of food security in developing countries through a research program, develop partnerships and relations between Canadian researchers and scientists and scientists in the South. Use the research results to inform, change and improve policies and programs in agriculture and food safety programs in Canada and internationally. And with a new phase of the program in 2013, a focus on scaling up the projects and results.
This information, all of this innovation research on smallholders and small-scale farmers, and particularly women. You heard this morning about how important women and smallholders are to the global food production, and I won't go into more details on that, but this was the focus of the fund. A lot of agricultural research is focused on the main staples and is focused on the high productivity regions of the world. The Canadian International Food Security Research Fund sought to fill the gap to meet the needs of smallholders and to help women farmers in particular become more self-sufficient and more productive. So how did it go? 6 calls for proposals for Canada international teams with outstanding review by an international panel of peers we call our Scientific Advisory Committee. And I must take this moment to thank our Scientific Advisory Committee members for the incredible work they did in reviewing more than 1,300 ideas that were submitted to the fund over the course of those 6 calls. What did we achieve? After 9, nearly 10 years, the program has generated considerable results that contribute to Canada's international assistance policy. 144 innovations,
144 innovations, 1.7 million farmers who are directly involved in research in over 24 countries.
Formed 29 food security policies, nutrition policies, agricultural policies, plans, and programs in over 10 countries. You're making a difference. 36 innovations have been scaled up, as you've heard, to reach 78 million people, the magic number for the next 2 days. But who's involved? Who's in this room? 20 Canadian organizations and universities distributed from British Columbia to Nova Scotia. 40 partners from around the global south in 24 countries. 167 different partners. What did you do? You worked in a mix of bench science, upstream research, new vaccines, new varieties of potato, new varieties of millet, new varieties of chickpea, to generate the kinds of innovations that were not being done by others. And you also worked downstream to work with the farmers to see how these innovations could be put into practice and tested them extensively in the field. What works, what didn't work, how might it be adjusted to work better, how might it be combined with other innovations to have an even bigger impact. This type of research required an interdisciplinary and multi-sectoral approach, not just universities, but also NGOs, members of civil society, and the private sector. 44 private sector entities, not counting our 1.7 million farmers, were part of this program. So, 470 papers published in peer review so far. 406 graduate students involved. All of you together have contributed to the results of this program, and you should be celebrating it, and you should be very proud of your contribution. We're going to hear so much more about this over the next couple of days. There are some lessons that we have learned as well. La recherche peut.
Research can make a difference. It shouldn't take 10 years before we see those differences. New perspectives that are created in partnerships between different sectors, researchers in different countries, and research that implies decision makers, farmers together generate innovation.
Fosters innovation. Canada is a great agricultural history and a great agricultural country. To share that and challenge ourselves in interacting with the expertise from around the world has generated innovation. Gender matters. Women's perspectives are transformative in food security research and contribute to excellence. Women's voices are essential in the field to find the best and most sustainable innovations. And women's voices are important to ensure that the food security and nutrition innovations and solutions actually meet the needs of women and girls in the field and can help transform not only their lives, but agricultural more broadly. Scaling up, we learned that there's no one magic recipe to scale up innovation. Policy and context matter, and we'll learn more about this tomorrow. We are contributing to improvements in food security. We know that the level of global hunger has come down from the billion of a decade ago to 800 million or so today, while the population has increased by 750 million. We know that this effort of the Canadian government and other governments around the world has resulted in an increase in international assistance focused on agriculture. It's increased by more than 50% globally since the beginning of the fund in today's dollars. But we cannot be complacent. Climate change, continuing inequality between women and men, between other groups, and conflict are creating additional challenges every day. Innovation is still needed. Without innovation, we will not continue to build a globally food-secure future and to reduce that 800 million people who still are hungry. Now, where do we go from here? There is a report that tells this story. There is also a secret. In your lanyard, there is a USB key, and in that USB key is the report en anglais et en français. There are also the presentations from and abstracts from the conference. The report tells a fabulous story. It's beautiful, it's exciting. It's organized essentially the way the next 2 days will be. We're focusing on improving productivity, on improving income, on improving nutrition. We're talking about partnerships, how to make them work, how to scale up the results of those partnerships. And we're talking about women, and we're talking about sustainability.
1 in 9 people worldwide are undernourished. With limited access to resources, markets, and income, the most vulnerable populations, especially women, are hit hardest by food insecurity. From 2009 to 2018, the Canadian International Food Security Research Fund, CIFSRF, developed lasting solutions to reduce global hunger. IDRC and Global Affairs Canada invested in applied research to increase food production, raise incomes, and improve nutrition for smallholder farmers, particularly women, and their families. By connecting smallholder farmers with researchers, NGOs, government actors, and the private sector, strong partnerships were forged between Canadian and Southern partners. Over 1.7 million farmers, almost half women, tested new tools and methods for growing, harvesting, producing, and marketing more resilient and nutritious foods. What else was achieved through their combined expertise? 39 projects were funded in 24 countries across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. 144 food security innovations were tested. 36 of these were scaled up, reaching 78 million people and potentially improving the lives of countless others. The driving focus has been finding solutions for a food-secure future. Now we need to expand these lessons to inform the next generation of research for development and build the gender transformative and resilient food systems necessary for the world to feed 9 billion people by 2030.